For decades, Silicon Valley told itself one comfortable truth: whoever shrinks the transistor smallest wins the future. And then a lab in China switched on a chip that ignores that race entirely and does the math of artificial intelligence with beams of light instead of electricity. Before we go any further, subscribe and turn on notifications so the next China breakthrough finds you first, before everyone else is still writing headlines. Now picture what that actually means. Inside this chip, numbers don't crawl through silicon as electrons. They flow as light. Little beams moving through tiny etched channels, and the arithmetic that powers artificial intelligence happens as those beams pass through, almost instantly, barely warm. And here's why that should make you sit up. The entire Western strategy in the chip war assumes the game stays on one track. TSMC's node lead. The export controls built to keep China from the best machines. NVIDIA's grip on the hardware that trains every big AI model. All of it rests on one bet: that the future belongs to whoever shrinks the transistor smallest. Change the track, and that whole moat starts to drain. If you can win the game with light, the transistor wall stops mattering. The blockade stops mattering too. By the end of this, you'll understand exactly how light does the math, who actually built this, and why the West's whole plan could look outdated overnight. But first, you need to see the wall everyone slammed into. Here's the thing: a modern AI chip really does. Strip away the buzzwords, and it performs trillions of multiply and add operations. That's it. That's the boring arithmetic sitting underneath every model you've ever used. Multiply two numbers. Add the result to a pile. Do it again, trillions of times a second. And every single one of those operations moves electrons. Moving electrons makes heat. That's just physics. Now pack the transistors tighter and tighter to go faster, and the heat piles up in a smaller and smaller space, until you're basically running a kitchen stove and trying to do delicate math on top of it. Let that sit for a moment. The fix everyone chased for years was just make it smaller. And smaller was starting to fail. Because here's the deeper trouble. That heat is only one of three walls the whole industry kept crashing into. Call them what they are: heat, cost, and the physical limit. Heat, because packed-in electrons cook the chip. Cost, because each new generation of factory tools got obscenely expensive. And the physical limit, because a transistor is a switch, and once you shrink a switch down near the size of a handful of atoms, it stops behaving like a switch at all. Electrons start leaking through walls that are supposed to stop them. The thing just misbehaves. And this chip is one signal in a much bigger pattern. China isn't just poking at chips. It's quietly changing the rules across energy, manufacturing, and technology all at once, and most people only find out months after the shift already happened. If you're tired of reacting to these breakthroughs long after they hit the front page, there's a guide worth your time called The China Signal. It decodes what China is really building, sector by sector, and turns dense engineering and economic moves into a plain language framework you can actually use to spot the shift before the headlines catch up. Scan the code on screen or grab the link in the description. It's the closest thing to seeing the next move before the crowd does. So back to those three walls, because they broke some of the smartest companies on Earth. Intel hit them. TSMC hit them. Every brilliant, deep-pocketed team ran straight into the same barrier, and their only real answer was to keep shrinking. 3 nanometers. Then 2 nanometers. Each new node costing billions more to build and delivering less of a jump than the one before it. And to shrink that far, you need one very specific machine, an EUV lithography tool, a monster the size of a bus, so complex only a handful exist on the planet. The West worked hard to keep that machine out of China's hands, betting the blockade alone could freeze China's chip ambitions in place. That was the whole plan. Keep the bus-sized machine away and stay ahead forever. Except a plan like that only works if the race stays about shrinking transistors. So how can light possibly do multiplication without dragging any heat behind it? The answer starts with something you can test yourself with 2 flashlights in a dark room. Because light, unlike electricity, does not fight itself. 2 flashlight beams cross in a dark room and pass straight through each other. No traffic jam, no collision, no heat. That single fact is the whole trick. Electricity can't do that. Electrons shove and drag and warm everything they touch. Light doesn't fight itself, and a photonic chip turns that difference into arithmetic. So here's the first move. How do you turn a beam of light into a number? You use its brightness and its timing. Turn the light up, the number goes up. Dim it, the number goes down. Nudge when the pulse arrives, and you've encoded even more. Numbers encoded as brightness and timing of light. That's it. No secret sauce, just a beam carrying a value the way your voice carries a word. Now the part that sounds impossible until you see it. You take those encoded beams and you send them through tiny optical structures on the chip. Little channels, little splitters, little bends carved into the material. As the light passes through, it gets combined and steered, and the multiplication just happens. Optical structures that multiply as light passes through. You don't run a calculation. You shine light through a shape, and the shape does the math on the way out. Try to picture it this way. Instead of pushing a crowd through a narrow doorway, one person at a time, you shine the whole crowd through a window at once. Everybody gets through in a single pass. That's the difference between electrons crawling through a switch and photons flowing through glass. And here's why the heat problem collapses. Photons don't drag like electrons do. When you move electrons through silicon, they bump into everything. And every bump is a little friction, and all that friction is heat. Pack the switches tighter, and the heat gets worse, until a modern chip is basically running a stove. Light skips all of it. The math happens barely warm. That stove you were fighting, it cools right down. Then there's speed. The arithmetic runs at, quite literally, the speed of light moving through a channel. The boring multiply and add that bottlenecks every AI model. The stuff that makes data centers gulp power. It gets done in one pass, almost instantly. You're not waiting on electrons to crawl. You're waiting on a light pulse to cross a sliver of glass. That's the whole delay. And I know what you're thinking. If light is this good, why did the entire industry ignore it for 50 years? There's an honest answer, and it's not a conspiracy. Controlling light precisely on a chip is genuinely hard. You have to carve those channels to near-perfect shapes, keep the beams stable, and read them back cleanly. For decades, electronics were simply good enough. Shrinking transistors kept working, year after year, so nobody had a reason to gamble on the harder path. Why fix a race you were still winning? So light sat on the shelf, a clever idea in physics lectures, waiting for the day electronics finally hit the wall. That day came. If this kind of breakdown is useful to you, hit the like button right now and subscribe with notifications on. It genuinely takes a huge amount of work to research and put these together, and we go deep on shifts like this the moment they happen, while everyone else is still writing headlines. So subscribe, and the next one finds you first. Now, the quiet bombshell. Because this is where the story stops being about physics and starts being about power. Some of these photonic chips are being fabricated on older, mature manufacturing lines with no EUV. Let that sit for a second. The whole West strategy was built around one machine, an EUV lithography tool the size of a bus, a machine that costs hundreds of millions of dollars, the machine Washington worked hard to keep out of China's hands. That machine exists to etch transistors smaller and smaller. It is the choke point. It is the wall China was supposed to be stuck behind. But a photonic chip doesn't need transistors etched at 2 nanometers. Its magic lives in the shape of the light channels, not the tininess of the switches. And those channels can be made on the kind of factory line China has had for years. So follow the logic all the way down. If you don't need the bus-sized machine to build the thing that beats the chips the bus-sized machine makes, then the entire export control strategy has a hole punched straight through the middle of it. The blockade is guarding the wrong door. That's the moment this goes from science fiction to something Silicon Valley should be genuinely nervous about. But a clever idea in a physics lecture is not a chip that runs a real neural network. So the only question that matters now is whether anyone has actually built one that works. And the names behind it come with a warning label attached. Someone has built one that works. And the warning label is real, so let's read it carefully. Research groups tied to Tsinghua University and institutes under the Chinese Academy of Sciences have done more than sketch a clever idea on a whiteboard. They've published. They've demonstrated. They've taken photonic processors and run actual machine learning tasks on them, real neural networks doing real classification work in the lab under real conditions. Not a slideshow, not a promise for 2030. Chips you could point to, humming with light instead of electricity, doing the boring arithmetic that every AI model in the world depends on. And here's where I have to slow you down. It is only fair to be honest here. The loudest performance numbers, the biggest speed claims, the eye-popping efficiency figures, a lot of those come through Chinese state media. So healthy skepticism is not just reasonable, it's required. When a state broadcaster puts a glowing graphic on the screen and says, "A chip is 1,000 times faster," you take that with a very large grain of salt. But strip all the hype away, and something stubborn is left standing. Working photonic chips exist. They run real machine learning in a lab today. And that part cannot be walked back. You can argue about how fast. You can argue about how soon it scales. You cannot argue it isn't real. Now think about what that does to the map. For years, the West's whole chip strategy has rested on one bet. Keep the race on the transistor track and stay ahead on that track. TSMC holds the lead on the smallest nodes. The export controls keep the EUV machine, that bus-sized giant, out of China's hands. And NVIDIA sits on top of the AI hardware world because its chips are the ones everyone trains their models on. Every piece of that assumes the game stays the same game. Change the track, and the moat just drains out. That's why Silicon Valley is rattled. Really sit with this. The West spent years, billions of dollars, and a wall of export bans defending one narrow choke point, the ability to etch transistors ever smaller. Light-based computing doesn't attack that choke point. It walks around it. If the math happens in beams of light on an older, mature production line, then the EUV blockade is guarding a door that no longer leads anywhere. The node lead matters less. The whole defensive line was built for a war that might not be the war anymore. And the money that moves is staggering. AI data centers, those warehouses of glowing server racks that burn power like a small city, that's the front line. The chip supply chains that feed them. And the price of compute itself, the raw cost of running a model, which right now flows straight into NVIDIA's pocket. Loosen light-based computing into that, and the sector that becomes the future isn't whoever shrinks silicon fastest. It's whoever moves the math into photons first. Now, before you go tell everyone the transistor is dead, let me be the honest analyst again. This is a challenger switching on, not a coronation. Photonic chips still have real walls of their own. Getting light and electronics onto the same chip cleanly, that's hard. Memory, storing the numbers between steps, that's still clumsy in the optical world. And mass production, turning a lab success into millions of units on a shelf, is a completely different mountain from making one that works on a bench. None of that is solved. Anyone who tells you it's game over is selling you something. But go back to where this started. The transistor age is about 70 years old. 70 years of the same basic idea: shrink the switch, push the electrons, make heat, shrink again. It looked unbeatable. It looked permanent, right up until the moment someone stopped trying to shrink it and simply changed the rules. That's the part nobody saw coming, because from the inside, the wall felt like the whole world. This is how technology curves actually work. You've watched it your whole life without noticing. They look flat. For a very, very long time, they look flat, boring, stuck. Decade after decade of tiny gains and rising costs, and everyone assumes that's just how it is. And then, all at once, they are not flat at all. They bend, they go vertical, and the people who bet their whole strategy on the flat part get left standing on the wrong side of it. A chip that computes with light was a physics daydream. Now it runs neural networks in a room in China, warm to the touch instead of scorching, on machines the export controls were never built to stop. The daydream got a serial number. That doesn't mean it wins tomorrow. It means the track just split in two, and one of the branches doesn't care about the wall the West spent everything defending. So here's the question I actually want from you. Which industry do you think light-based computing overtakes first? AI data centers? Telecom? Defense? Something nobody's even watching yet? Drop it below. I read them. And the smartest calls in that comment section usually beat the headlines by a year.